Welcome back to the program, everyone. My name is Jeff, otherwise known as LitecoinLeader. As you see down here in the corner, as I point in the right direction, it's never easy to point. It's here. Okay, you got it right here. There's my Twitter handle. There's my website, LitecoinLeader.com. There's more in the description. You can find more details, how to contact me. Email is the best. That's probably the best way to reach me if you have questions. On my website, you can book an appointment to talk as well. But today, what I want to talk about is Bitcoin basics, just keeping that going on. And if you have questions that you want answered, please leave them in the comments below, and I will get to them and make a video on that, or direct you towards someone who's done a better job. But I'll try to explain it in plain English. So that's pretty much my strength here. So today's topic is addresses. And I'm going to focus on Bitcoin primarily because you learn Bitcoin, you can pretty much adapt to other projects. But what is a Bitcoin address? Where does it come from? What are private and public keys? Why have I heard? I hope you've heard about these phrases, and you've also heard never share your private key. Why is that true? And I'm going to share how this all works and why you need to know about it. But first, let's talk about an analogy, okay? You're on the internet, which means you probably have an email address. An email address you can share with anyone. They can send you things. That is much like a public address, okay? The public address for Bitcoin, it'd be something similar to what's posted on the front of one of our cold storage wallets. This is a public address. This one happens to be for Litecoin. I checked in here. That's a Litecoin address. So this here is a public key. Behind this label is a private key. All right, a private. It's the private address. So what does all that gobbledygook mean? This is secure because let me share my screen and I'll share the image that I wanted to share. And let's see. Here we go. All right. This is from one site, and there are private keys. We're going to start from left to right. I'm not going to go over everything, but I want to talk about the directions of the arrows. Private keys are used to generate public keys, which are used to generate Bitcoin addresses. Notice the one-way street. It is only from left to right. You cannot go backwards. Why is that important? Well, if you have a public address like this, you could tattoo this on your arm or your forehead. You could put it anywhere you want. You could share it to anyone you like, much like an email address. If you want to share it, you can make it public. You have Jeff at LitecoinLeader.com. Or if you want to get paid on, say, Zelle, or like you have a cash tag or in Cash App, those are public addresses. They aren't sharing your phone number or emails that are used to generate those tags, but they are public information that you can share and feel safe that it's not going to be compromised of your actual funds. So you start with I'm going to start over here. You start with a private key. You have a private key. That's what you never share. And that goes through a process, an equation that is used by the blockchain algorithm. That's just a number. Private key is just a number. Now I'll talk about the size of that number of how hard it is to crack in a moment. You have a private key. Then you do a function on that and you make it, then you have a public key. And that public key makes a public address. So the public key is pretty much what's used to generate the public address, but it's a one-way street. Now, I want to talk about how it's very important that you check and verify information, because there's something I want to share that I noticed when I was doing I provide all my receipts, so I'm going to share the information here. So when I was looking at this site, which is now the link will be in the description, when I came over to the description, I guess this is AI generated. The Bitcoin key, talking about it is a number between 1 and 2256. That is not correct because the AI, this is a summarizer that uses AI. That's incorrect. It's actually 2 to the power of 256. That's a big, big number and a big, big difference. Okay. So let me go to the other page here. Okay. This is the same page that I had the infographic earlier. I'll scroll up. You can see it's the same one. Let me just read the highlighted parts. The private key can be any number between 0 and a very large number, which they call n, all right, or n minus 1, which is 1.1 times 10 to the power of 77, or a 1 followed by 77 zeros. The reason and how they do this is it's a computer program. It's usually achieved by feeding a larger string of random bits collected from a cryptographically secure source of randomness. That's why it's called crypto. It's a cryptographic equation, or so you have this random numbers that get plugged into the SHA-256 hash algorithm, and it produces a 256-bit number. Now, as an idea of the size of Bitcoin's private key is power of 2 to the power of 256, which is an incredibly large number. They give a good example. It's about 10 to the power of 77, which is a 1 followed by 77 zeros. To compare this to something, they said the universe is estimated of 10 to the 8 of the power of 80 atoms. So this is 1/1000th of all the atoms in the universe is the size of your Bitcoin's private key. Now, you've probably seen something that looks like this on, let me enlarge it, but here's an example. It's not the actual address, but it's just a format. But here's an example of a 256-bit random number. It kind of looks like an address you've seen before because it includes the numbers 0 through 9 and A through F. Those are 10 digits and 6 letters. That's 16, which is 4 bits. Right? It's like 2 to the power 4 is 16. So each letter or number represents a number between 0 and 15, which is 16. So these letters, let's see, it is 64 characters times 4 bits. It's 256 bits. So that's how you get an address. So let me drop out of here and just talk about that. That 2 to the power of 77 or 2 to the power of 256. Just as an example, in computerese, 2 to the power of 10 is 1K or 1024. So that's a kilobit. A megabit is 2 to the power of 20, which is about a million, a little over a million. 2 to the power of 30 would be a gig, right? That's a gigabits, right? So you can see how the numbers go. Like 2 to the power of 77, it gets ginormous. It's a very large number, and that's why it's so hard to replicate, and that's why it's secure. So again, addresses are generated on a one-way street, one way from your private key to the public key to your public address. You cannot go backwards. So if you share your public key, you can't get, or I'm sorry, if you share that public address, you can't get back to your private key. It's impossible. You cannot go that way. That would be cracking it, and there's no supercomputer around right now or even on the horizon for the next 10 years that will be able to crack that code. So that is where the addresses come from. That is why it's so secure. That's also why it's called crypto, because it uses a cryptographic algorithm to create these addresses. So hopefully you understand this better. I'm going to talk about wallets in the next video, but for now, I'm going to leave it there. Please leave any comments down below or any questions you have or anything else you want me to explain. But for now, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.